Imagine being called by a whisper amidst ruins, tasked with a monumental mission, rebuilding the heart of a nation. This is my story. As you journey with me through this tale, you will witness the desolation of a cherished city and the relentless spirit that sought to restore it. You will encounter fervent prayers whispered in the dead of night, amidst the rubble of what once was. You will see walls rise again from the dust, strong and resolute. Let me share with you a promise. At the end of our journey together, I will impart a prayer, one that guided my every step and has the power to guide yours as well. In that prayer lies the essence of faith, the determination to overcome, and the wisdom to lead. As we set off on this narrative, allow these words to resonate within you. The God of heaven will give us success. Therefore we his servants will start rebuilding. Nehemiah chapter 2 verse 20. And so, dear listener, let us begin. Imagine, if you will, a time of great despair and disarray, where a beloved city lay in ruins and its people scattered and disheartened. In such a bleak moment, a figure emerges from an unexpected place, not from a royal lineage or a seat of power, but from the humble position of a cupbearer in a foreign land. This figure's name is Nehemiah, and his story is a testament to the extraordinary impact one individual can have when driven by purpose, faith, and an unwavering call to action. Nehemiah's tale is meticulously chronicled in the biblical book that bears his name, spanning chapters 1 through 13. This narrative begins with Nehemiah in the Persian capital of Susa, serving King Artaxerxes. Upon hearing the distressing news of Jerusalem's dilapidated condition, Nehemiah's heart is moved profoundly. He responds not with despair but with fervent prayer and fasting, seeking divine guidance. Empowered by a vision and fortified by prayer, Nehemiah approaches the king, requesting permission to return to Jerusalem and reconstruct its shattered walls. The king, seeing the earnestness in Nehemiah's plea, grants him not only the authority to go but also provides him with resources and protection for the journey. Upon his arrival in Jerusalem, Nehemiah's leadership and strategic vision become immediately apparent. He surveys the city's broken walls and gates under the cloak of night, formulating a plan to rally the people and commence rebuilding. His resolve invigorates the community, transforming their despair into a unified effort of restoration. The task is Herculean, filled with opposition and peril. From the jeering of adversaries like Sanballat and Tobiah to the internal strife among the people, Nehemiah's journey is rife with challenges. Yet, through every trial, his resilience and faith shine brilliantly. His reliance on constant prayer and trust in God's providence provides him with an unshakable foundation, enabling him to counteract threats and maintain the morale of the workers. Under Nehemiah's determined leadership, the walls of Jerusalem are miraculously completed in just 52 days, an achievement that stands as a testament to divine assistance and human tenacity. However, Nehemiah's mission extends beyond physical reconstruction. Recognizing that the renewal of the city must be accompanied by the spiritual renewal of its inhabitants, he implements significant reforms. Nehemiah addresses the social injustices among the people, confronting the nobles and officials who had been exploiting their brethren. He reinstates the observance of the Sabbath and the reading of the law, led by Ezra the scribe. Together, they foster a revival of faith and covenantal commitment among the people, reinstating practices that had long been neglected. The narrative of Nehemiah does not merely recount a series of historical events. It embodies profound themes of leadership, faith, and community. Nehemiah's story is a beacon illustrating how prayerful dependence on God, combined with decisive and compassionate leadership, can transform a shattered reality into a restored and thriving community. As we reflect on Nehemiah's journey, we are reminded that true leadership involves not only addressing physical or structural deficiencies but also nurturing the spiritual and ethical dimensions of communal life. In Nehemiah, we see a leader who does not merely rebuild walls but rekindles hope, justice, and faith among his people. Thus, The book of Nehemiah stands as an enduring testament to the power of divine calling and human perseverance. It encourages us to rise above our circumstances, to see beyond the rubble, and to rebuild not only stones and mortar but the very fabric of our communities with integrity, faith, and unwavering commitment. Biblical Overview by C.S. Lewis. Picture a vast, ancient empire ruled by a monarch of great power and influence, the Persian Empire. In the midst of this mighty domain, we encounter a humble yet significant figure, Nehemiah. His story, one of transformation and divine purpose, begins not with royal titles but with the simple role of a cupbearer in the court of King Artaxerxes. Nehemiah's journey is one of extraordinary faith and unwavering commitment to a cause far greater than himself. His narrative unfolds at a time when the Jewish people, exiled from their homeland, dreamt of a return to Jerusalem, a city in ruins yet brimming with sacred history and hope. Nehemiah, deeply troubled by the plight of his people and the desolation of the holy city, could not ignore the pulling at his heartstrings, an inner calling only sharpened by the news that reached his ears. The journey from cupbearer to a divinely appointed leader begins with a crucial attribute that defines Nehemiah's character: his prayer life. When confronted with the enormity of the task ahead, Nehemiah does not lean on his limited human capacity but falls to his knees in fervent prayer. His prayers are not mere requests. They are dialogues steeped in humility, repentance, and an immense trust in God's providence. Nehemiah's initial prayer, marked by its eloquence and depth, serves as a template of sincere supplication and unwavering faith. As Nehemiah gains favor in the eyes of King Artaxerxes, we witness a remarkable transition. The cupbearer becomes a bearer of new hope. With the king's blessing and resources, Nehemiah embarks on the sacred mission of rebuilding Jerusalem's walls. His leadership quality emerges prominently, underscored by his strategic mind and the ability to inspire and mobilize a scattered and disheartened populace. Nehemiah's leadership is characterized by a blend of practicality and spiritual wisdom. He surveys the broken walls, assesses the needs, and devises a robust plan. Yet, he never forgets the ultimate source of his strength and guidance, God. The narrative repeatedly highlights how Nehemiah intersperses his activities with prayer, constantly seeking divine guidance amid the challenges he encounters. The challenges faced by Nehemiah are manifold. From external opposition to internal strife, the journey is far from smooth. Sanballat, Tobiah, and other adversaries seek to thwart the rebuilding efforts, employing tactics ranging from mockery and intimidation to plotting harm. Yet, Nehemiah's resilience, bolstered by his faith, becomes a beacon of perseverance. His response is always twofold. He addresses the physical threats with practical measures, like armed protection for the workers, and fortifies the spiritual resolve of his people through collective prayer and encouragement. Internally, Nehemiah confronts issues of social justice within the Jewish community, demonstrating his holistic approach to leadership. He tackles the exploitation of the poor and the neglect of ethical principles, instituting reforms that align the community once more with divine commandments. His actions reflect a leader who understands that rebuilding walls alone is insufficient. The restoration of communal integrity and righteousness is equally imperative. Through victories and setbacks, Nehemiah's journey is defined by an unwavering commitment to his mission and his God. The narrative of Nehemiah is not merely an account of architectural revival but a profound story of faith-driven restoration and divine calling. It teaches us that true leadership is rooted in spiritual integrity, and that challenges, however daunting, can be surmounted when one aligns with a purpose ordained by the Almighty. Nehemiah's journey from cupbearer to leader imparts enduring lessons on prayer, resilience, and the power of divine calling, an inspiration for anyone seeking to undertake a mission that transcends the ordinary, imbued with a higher purpose and guided by an ever-present faith. During the vast era of the Persian Empire, a time when the sun almost never set on the dominion of its kings, the Jewish people found themselves far from home. Their story of exile, filled with sorrow and yearning, is one of profound significance. Imagine, if you will, a nation bereft of its beloved city, Jerusalem, the spiritual and historical heartbeat of their identity. Jerusalem, the city of David, held a place of paramount importance. Not merely a city of stone and mortar, but the locus of divine promise and the repository of their deepest hopes and traditions. The grandeur of its walls, once standing tall against the horizon, was a symbol of God's protection and the unity of his people. Yet, even great walls can be breached. The Babylonians, under King Nebuchadnezzar, came with might and fury, leaving Jerusalem in ruins. The Holy Temple was desecrated, treasures were plundered, and the elite of Jerusalem were carted off to Babylon. This profound event, often referred to as the Babylonian exile, marked the beginning of a 70-year absence from their ancestral homeland. As the pages of history turned, the Babylonians themselves fell to the conquering power of the Persian Empire. Under the regency of King Cyrus, the winds of change began to blow. This benevolent ruler issued a decree allowing the exiled peoples, including the Jews, to return to their native lands and rebuild what had been razed. Amidst this backdrop of return and reconstruction steps Nehemiah, a man of vision and deep faith. Although serving as a cupbearer to King Artaxerxes in the opulent halls of the Persian capital, his heart still beat fiercely for Jerusalem. Nehemiah, upon hearing of the desolation of Jerusalem's walls, wept, prayed, and fasted. He knew the significance that these walls held. They were not just defensive structures but symbols of resilience, unity, and divine restoration. It is crucial to understand the role of these city walls in ancient times. They provided safety from invading forces and a sense of communal identity and pride. A city without walls was a city exposed to shame and vulnerability. The rebuilding of Jerusalem's walls, therefore, was more than an engineering feat. It was a profound act of renewal and defiance against the forces that sought to erase their legacy. Nehemiah's mission to reconstruct the walls was met with formidable opposition, both external and internal. Neighboring adversaries mocked, threatened, and schemed to halt the progress. Simultaneously, he had to galvanize a dispirited populace, addressing grievances and setting reforms to ensure a just and harmonious society. The period of the Persian Empire, therefore, stands as a remarkable epoch in Jewish history. Under the distant yet providential rule of Persian monarchs, the Jewish people found the strange blessing of imperial decree facilitating the fulfillment of divine prophecy. In this time of reconstruction, Nehemiah's leadership and the collective resolve of the returning exiles underscore a timeless truth: that faith, courage, and community can rebuild that which is broken, often emerging stronger and more united than before. Through the annals of time, the story of Nehemiah's endeavor resonates as a testament to the enduring human spirit and the powerful hand of providence. The historical context of the Persian Empire, the exile, and the ensuing return and reconstruction form the tapestry against which his incredible tale unfolds, woven with threads of hope, resilience, and divine faithfulness. In the grand tapestry of Nehemiah's story, we find a rich array of characters, each contributing their unique threads to the restoration of Jerusalem. Let us start with the protagonist, Nehemiah himself. Nehemiah was not born into his role, rather, he was a cupbearer, a position of trust and intimacy in the court of King Artaxerxes of Persia. But God had woven into his heart a deep, unshakable concern for his ancestral city, Jerusalem. When Nehemiah heard of the desolation of Jerusalem's walls, his reaction was immediate and heartfelt. He wept, fasted, and prayed for days, seeking God's guidance. Here we see the first defining trait of Nehemiah: his fervent and persistent prayer life. He did not rush into action; instead, he sought divine counsel, aligning his plans with God's will. This prayerful dependence would become a cornerstone of his leadership. King Artaxerxes is another pivotal figure in this narrative. Though a foreign ruler, his role was crucial in the fulfillment of Nehemiah's mission. Artaxerxes granted Nehemiah leave from his duties, provided him with letters of safe passage, and supplied the timber needed for the reconstruction. It is notable that Nehemiah's success in securing the king's favor, and thus the resources for the mission, resulted from both his respectful diplomacy and the evident grace of God working through his endeavors. Then we encounter Ezra, the scribe, whose contributions cannot be overlooked. Ezra had come to Jerusalem earlier, leading a wave of Jewish returnees with the specific mission to re-establish the law of Moses among the people. While Nehemiah rebuilt the walls, Ezra rebuilt the spiritual foundations of the community. His emphasis on teaching, reading, and understanding the scriptures helped to instill a renewed sense of identity and purpose among the Israelites. Together, Nehemiah and Ezra provided both the physical and spiritual fortifications necessary for a restored Jerusalem. Other leaders emerged to aid in this monumental task. Men like Hanani, Nehemiah's brother, who first brought him the troubling news about Jerusalem, and Ananiah, who was appointed as a commander of the fortress because of his integrity and fear of God. We also see roles played by the priests, nobles, and families who banded together, each taking responsibility for different sections of the wall. This collective effort underscores a vital lesson. The rebuilding of Jerusalem was not the work of a single individual but a community united under a divine vision. Lastly, we note the opposition that Nehemiah and his compatriots faced. Figures such as Sanballat, Tobiah, and Geshem sought to thwart their efforts through mockery, threats, and deceit. Yet, Nehemiah remained steadfast, his resilience melding with a strategic mind and a heart ever turned toward heaven. His leadership turned potential despair into determined action, underscoring a profound truth about faith and perseverance. In recounting these significant biblical figures, we see a mosaic of divine orchestration. Each individual's contribution was integral to the success of the mission. Nehemiah's leadership and fervent prayers, Artaxerxes' unexpected favor, Ezra's dedication to the scriptures, and the collective effort of Jerusalem's inhabitants paint a picture of a community drawn together by a higher purpose. It is a testament to what can be achieved when human initiative aligns with divine will, a lesson that resonates through the ages. In the grand tapestry of human history, there are stories that transcend mere cultural or temporal confines, resonating across ages and speaking to the very essence of our existence. Such is the story of Nehemiah, a tale woven with threads of faith, leadership, and divine calling, themes that are pivotal in understanding not only his narrative but the very fabric of our spiritual journey. To begin with, let us delve into the theme of faith, a cornerstone in Nehemiah's saga. Faith, in its simplest form, is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. Nehemiah's unwavering belief in God's promises and his steadfast reliance on divine providence illuminate the profound power of faith. Picture Nehemiah, a cupbearer in the Persian court, living a life of relative comfort, yet deeply longing for the restoration of his ancestral home. His faith was not passive but active, compelling him to fast, pray, and seek God's guidance. It was this faith that moved mountains and turned despair into hope, driving him to embark on a perilous journey to rebuild Jerusalem's walls. The next theme to ponder upon is leadership, an attribute vividly personified by Nehemiah. Leadership, in its truest essence, involves guiding and inspiring others towards a common purpose. Nehemiah's leadership was marked not by authoritarian command but by servant-hearted devotion. He rallied a diverse group of people, uniting them with a shared vision, ensuring that each person, from noble to laborer, knew their value and role in the grand mission. His leadership was imbued with empathy, justice, and an unwavering moral compass, qualities that are timeless and essential for any aspiring leader. Central to Nehemiah's narrative is the unmistakable theme of divine calling. A divine calling is a profound sense of purpose bestowed by God, a mantle that transcends human ambition and taps into the eternal. Nehemiah's call was not self-ordained, it was a burden placed upon his heart by God. When he heard about the desolation of Jerusalem, it was as if a divine whisper ignited a fire within him. He embraced his calling with humility and courage, knowing that the task ahead was beyond human capability and required divine intervention. This divine calling was his guiding star, directing his actions and decisions throughout his formidable mission. Now, How did Nehemiah navigate the treacherous path laid before him? The answer lies in his reliance on prayer and God's guidance. Nehemiah was a man of prayer, constantly seeking God's wisdom and strength. His prayers were not mere rituals but fervent conversations with the Almighty. Whether he was seeking permission from King Artaxerxes to venture to Jerusalem, strategizing against the opposition, or dedicating the completed wall, Nehemiah's first recourse was prayer. This reliance on divine guidance ensured that his efforts were not by his might or power but by the Spirit of God. Nehemiah's story, therefore, is a testament to the transformative power of faith, the profound impact of righteous leadership, and the irreplaceable significance of heeding one's divine calling. It teaches us that when we place our trust in the divine, led with integrity, and pursue our God-given purpose, we can achieve extraordinary feats. Through prayer and reliance on God's guidance, the seemingly impossible becomes possible, and the desolate ruins of our lives can be rebuilt and restored to their former glory. Imagine a rainy evening in a cozy study, where the scent of old books mingles with the aroma of a crackling fire. Amidst the shadows cast by the flickering flames, two venerable figures emerge from the annals of theological thought: Matthew Henry and Charles Spurgeon. Their voices, though silent in our modern age, continue to resonate with profound insights into Nehemiah's indomitable spirit of leadership and unwavering faith. Matthew Henry, a sage of the 17th and early 18th centuries, once penned a voluminous commentary on the Bible, a treasure trove for any earnest seeker of divine wisdom. Regarding Nehemiah, Henry delved into the pages of Scripture with a meticulous eye, uncovering lessons in every verse. For Henry, Nehemiah was not merely a historical figure but a paragon of piety and pragmatism. He admired Nehemiah's blend of devout prayer and decisive action, a fusion that Henry deemed essential for any who would aspire to godly leadership. In Nehemiah's earnest prayers, Henry saw the image of a heart fully surrendered to divine will, a beacon for believers navigating the tempestuous seas of their own lives. Then there is Charles Spurgeon, whose sermons once filled the pews of 19th-century England, his voice reverberating with the passion and power of a man inflamed by the Holy Spirit. Spurgeon found in Nehemiah a kindred spirit, a leader who exemplified the vigor and vision necessary for the work of God's kingdom. Spurgeon often spoke of Nehemiah's reliance on God, emphasizing that spiritual victory is won not by human might but by divine intervention. In his eloquence, Spurgeon would draw his congregation's attention to Nehemiah's unyielding faith in the face of opposition, urging them to emulate such fortitude in their spiritual journeys. Both Henry and Spurgeon illuminated the story of Nehemiah with their distinct yet complementary perspectives. Henry's scholarly approach provided a detailed map of Nehemiah's path, highlighting the intricacies of his character and the divine strategy that underpinned his success. Spurgeon, with his fiery oratory, sparked the imaginations and hearts of his listeners, instilling in them a burning desire to pursue God with the same zeal that marked Nehemiah's life. It is through the pens and voices of these influential theologians that the lessons of Nehemiah continue to echo down the corridors of time. They remind us that true leadership is forged in the crucible of faith and prayer, and that, like Nehemiah, we are called to rebuild the walls of our own spiritual fortresses, trusting in the God who guides us. As you reflect on the lives of Matthew Henry and Charles Spurgeon, may you be inspired to delve deeper into the Scriptures and find within them the same wellspring of encouragement and insight that fueled their remarkable ministries. May their reflections on Nehemiah's story serve as a beacon, illuminating your path and strengthening your soul for the work that lies ahead. To comprehend the traditional view of Nehemiah, one must first imagine the gravity and grandeur of his narrative. Picture, if you will, the solemn ruins of Jerusalem, a city once teeming with promise and divine favor, now lying desolate. Amidst this scene of desolation, a single figure emerges, resolute. This figure is Nehemiah, cupbearer to King Artaxerxes of Persia and, more crucially, a man chosen by God to lead the rebuilding of a devastated city. The traditional view presents him not merely as a historical figure but as a beacon of divine providence and community leadership. To bolster this view, we must first consider the historical reliability of Nehemiah's account. The scriptures, particularly the books of Ezra and Nehemiah, offer a cohesive narrative that situates Nehemiah squarely in the historical context of the mid-5th century BCE. The Persian Empire, under which Nehemiah served, is well documented by extra-biblical sources, lending credence to the events described. Furthermore, the traditional perspective holds that Nehemiah's unwavering faith and leadership are underpinned by divine orchestration. The very act of securing the king's favor to rebuild Jerusalem is seen as a manifestation of God's workings behind the scenes. The essence of traditionalism here lies in recognizing God's hand subtly yet powerfully guiding Nehemiah's steps. Consider also the community leadership that Nehemiah exemplifies. He galvanizes a demoralized and fragmented people, uniting them with a shared vision. This act of unification is no mere human endeavor but is viewed through the traditional lens as inspired by God. Nehemiah's appeals for divine assistance through prayer punctuate the narrative, highlighting a recurrent theme: the interweaving of human effort with divine will. Supporters of the traditional view often cite the tangible outcomes of Nehemiah's mission to underscore their beliefs. The completion of the Jerusalem wall in a mere 52 days, amidst substantial opposition, is considered nothing short of miraculous. To traditionalists, this achievement signifies more than efficient leadership. It is evidence of providence, God's active involvement in the affairs of His chosen people. Even the moral and religious reforms Nehemiah instituted can be seen as an extension of this divine mandate. By reinstating the law, purging the community of foreign influences, and renewing the covenant, Nehemiah not only reconstructs physical walls but also fortifies the spiritual walls of the community's faith. Nehemiah's story, thus, is not merely an account of a historical figure challenging the odds. It is a testimony to the symbiosis of divine purpose and human agency. Traditionalists see in Nehemiah a pattern for all believers: to discern God's voice, accept His mission, and fortify their communities against both physical and spiritual ruin. In conclusion, the traditional view of Nehemiah underscores the interplay of historical veracity, divine providence, and the quintessence of community leadership. His narrative serves as an archetype of God's involvement in human history, showcasing that with divine guidance, perseverance, and faith, monumental tasks can be undertaken and realized. It's a story that resonates through the ages, inspiring believers to trust in God's plan and to lead with courage and conviction. The story of Nehemiah, as chronicled in the Bible, is a grand tale of leadership, divine calling, and monumental achievement. Yet, like many ancient narratives, it is not without its controversies and scholarly debates. These questions often center around three main areas: the historicity of Nehemiah's account, differing opinions on the timeline, and archaeological evidence, or the lack thereof. First, let us consider the historicity of Nehemiah's account. The traditional view maintains that Nehemiah was indeed a historical figure who served as the cupbearer to King Artaxerxes of Persia and later became the governor of Judah. From this position, he led the Jews in the rebuilding of Jerusalem's walls and in the enforcement of religious reforms. Skeptics, however, have raised questions about the veracity of this storyline, citing potential exaggerations or mythic elements that may have been added over the centuries. Such skepticism is rooted in a broader tendency to question ancient texts, especially those with significant religious implications. Secondly, the timeline of Nehemiah's activities has come under scrutiny. Traditional accounts place Nehemiah in the mid-5th century BC, specifically during the reign of Artaxerxes I, 465 to 424 BC. However, some scholars argue for a revised timeline, suggesting that the Nehemiah figure may have lived in a different era altogether, or that the events attributed to him were the result of multiple leaders bearing the same name or title. These debates are fueled by inconsistencies in the chronology of Persian kings and discrepancies in the biblical text itself. Archaeological evidence presents another battleground for these scholarly debates. Those in favor of the traditional view point to findings such as remnants of ancient walls in Jerusalem, which they argue correspond to the fortifications Nehemiah is said to have rebuilt. Critics counter that these remains are difficult to date precisely and could belong to construction efforts from different periods. Furthermore, the absence of definitive artifacts bearing Nehemiah's name or direct references to his efforts has led some to question the historical basis of his narrative altogether. Nevertheless, it is crucial to approach these debates with an understanding that the absence of evidence is not necessarily evidence of absence. The ancient world, shrouded in the mists of time, often yields only fragmentary glimpses of its past. Archaeological methods continue to evolve, and what might be inconclusive today could become clear tomorrow with new discoveries or advancements in technology. What we can ascertain with some confidence is that Nehemiah's account, whether fully historical or embellished over time, carries profound thematic and inspirational value. It encapsulates the themes of faith, resilience, and community effort in the face of overwhelming odds, qualities that continue to resonate deeply with readers and believers today. In conclusion, while the scholarly debates surrounding Nehemiah's historicity, timeline, and archaeological evidence are complex and ongoing, they do not detract from the powerful message of his story. Instead, they invite us to explore the rich tapestry of biblical history with both a critical mind and an open heart, always seeking deeper understanding and greater appreciation for the narratives that shape our spiritual and cultural heritage. In the vast tapestry of human history, the narrative of Nehemiah stands as a beacon of hope and resilience, a tale of restoration amidst ruins. But his story is not the solitary starlight in this celestial map. Other ancient cultures, too, have woven their own threads of rebuilding and renewal, each with its unique hue and texture. Let us journey first to the land of the pharaohs, where temples once rose majestically along the banks of the Nile. The Egyptians, in their reverence for the gods, frequently embarked on monumental restoration projects. Imagine, if you will, the Grand Temple of Karnak, where pharaohs of successive dynasties invested their efforts to restore and enhance its glory. This was not merely an act of construction but a renewal of divine favor and cosmic order, very much like Nehemiah's mission to rebuild Jerusalem's walls. A quest to restore the physical and spiritual integrity of his people. Cross now to the fertile plains of Mesopotamia, where the legendary city of Babylon once towered. The tale of the ziggurat of Atamananki offers another fascinating parallel. This massive structure, often identified with the Tower of Babel, became a symbol of mankind's aspiration and divine communication. When it fell into disrepair, kings like Nebuchadnezzar II took it upon themselves to rebuild and restore this towering monument, seeking to recapture a lost grandeur and reconnect with the divine realms. A theme resonant with Nehemiah's rebuilding, which was as much about re-establishing a covenant with God as it was about physical walls. Each of these stories, one from Egypt and one from Mesopotamia, tells of a deep-seated human instinct. The urge to rebuild what has fallen, to reclaim a sense of purpose and connection with the divine. Nehemiah, like the kings of old, heard a call, a whisper perhaps, urging him to restore what was broken. In all these narratives, there is an echo of a universal truth. The endeavor to mend and restore is as ancient as humanity itself. It is a testament to our enduring hope and belief that through effort and faith, order can be brought out of chaos, and the sacred can be renewed. This comparative glance also teaches us that restoration is not merely a physical task but a profound spiritual journey. Whether it's the Egyptian pharaohs, Mesopotamian kings, or Nehemiah himself, the act of rebuilding signifies more than bricks and mortar. It's an expression of faith, a covenant renewed, and a community restored. And so, as we reflect on Nehemiah's story, let us also see the broader human saga, where the desire to restore, rebuild, and reconnect with the divine is a thread that binds us all, across time and cultures. Picture, if you will, yourself standing upon the ancient dust of Jerusalem, a place where stone and soil whisper tales of old. It is here, in this very soil, that the echoes of Nehemiah's grand endeavor resound through the ages. In one of the most compelling chapters of historical excavation, archaeologists have unearthed astonishing findings from the Persian period in Jerusalem. These discoveries not only confirm the narratives of the past but also breathe new life into the story of Nehemiah and his indomitable spirit of rebuilding. Among the most remarkable of these findings are the remnants of Jerusalem's wall. Imagine slabs of roughly hewn stones, forever marked by the hands that shaped them, silent yet eloquent witnesses to a time when walls were not just barriers but symbols of hope and endurance. These stones, still standing after thousands of years, speak to Nehemiah's relentless determination and the divine assistance he believed he received. But the discoveries do not end with mere walls. Artifacts such as ancient pottery, inscriptions, and even seals from officials of the Persian administration have been uncovered. These small, seemingly insignificant items are, in fact, profound pieces of the historical puzzle. Each one provides invaluable insight into the daily lives of the people who lived, worked, and worshipped during Nehemiah's time. One particularly fascinating find is the discovery of bulli, which are clay seal impressions used to secure documents. These bear the names and titles of Persian officials and Jewish leaders, offering a tangible link to the political and administrative context of Nehemiah's mission. It's like touching history with your very hands and feeling the grooves of ancient authority and governance. Additionally, excavations have revealed sections of structures believed to be part of the ancient city's fortifications. The layout and construction techniques observed align remarkably with the biblical account of the rebuilding process described in the book of Nehemiah. Such congruence between scripture and archaeology provides a compelling testament to the historical foundation of Nehemiah's story. These remnants and relics serve not merely as proof of existence but as narratives etched in stone and clay. They tell us of a period when faith and perseverance triumphed over adversity, much as Nehemiah's text recounts. His strategic brilliance as a leader, his prayerful reliance on God, and his unyielding resolve, all these are mirrored in the material culture left behind. In summary, the archaeological discoveries of the Persian period in Jerusalem are more than just ancient artifacts. They are messages from the past, validating the enduring legacy of Nehemiah and his monumental task of restoration. Through these findings, we glean a deeper understanding of the historical context, the tangible reality of the biblical narrative, and the spiritual lessons that continue to inspire and guide us today. As you imagine these artifacts nestled in the earth, think of them not as mere remnants of a bygone era, but as beacons of a story that still resonates with the call to rebuild, to restore, and to renew our faith in the face of insurmountable odds. The realm of academic debates, particularly those centered around ancient texts and their veracity, is much like a grand hall filled with articulate and erudite minds, each presenting their case with fervor and meticulousness. When it comes to archaeological discoveries related to Nehemiah's account, such debates are inevitable, given the historical and theological significance intertwined in his narrative. To understand these debates, one must first grasp the nature of the discoveries themselves. Imagine, if you will, walking through the dust and stones of ancient Jerusalem, where fragments of the past rise to the surface like whispers from another time. Among these whispers are remnants of the wall Nehemiah was said to have rebuilt. In recent decades, various archaeological findings have surfaced, including portions of what could be the very wall Nehemiah and his compatriots laboriously reconstructed. These findings are celebrated by some as tangible confirmations of the biblical narrative. Others, however, approach them with a more cautious, sometimes skeptical, lens. The crux of the debate lies in the interpretation of these discoveries. Among historians and archaeologists, opinions diverge, like streams flowing from the same spring but taking varied paths. Some scholars argue that the remnants of the wall, the pottery, and other artifacts directly corroborate the biblical account of Nehemiah. They cite stratigraphy and carbon dating as aligning with the period traditionally ascribed to Nehemiah's activities. This perspective is often championed by those who hold the biblical texts in high historical regard, seeing the evidence as a bridge connecting sacred scripture with historical reality. On the other side of the spectrum, there are scholars who question whether these findings can be unequivocally linked to Nehemiah's time and efforts. They point out that ancient cities were often rebuilt multiple times over the centuries, making it challenging to attribute any one wall or artifact to a specific period without ambiguity. Furthermore, they argue that the biblical narrative, while valuable, should be seen more as a theological and literary document rather than a precise historical record. What emerges from these debates is not merely a division between belief and skepticism but a nuanced dialogue about the nature of evidence and interpretation. The heart of the matter is how we understand ancient narratives, whether through the lens of faith, historical scrutiny, or a blend of both. These discussions underscore the complex relationship between archaeological data and the texts they seek to illuminate. In a sense, the debates themselves beget a form of intellectual treasure, each argument, counter-argument, and piece of evidence contributing to a broader, richer tapestry of understanding. Scholars engaging in these debates must navigate the delicate balance between reverence for the text and rigorous analytical inquiry. It's a reminder that the quest for truth often involves threading a path between the known and the unknown, the seen and the unseen. So, when we consider the story of Nehemiah, it isn't just about ancient walls and worn stones. It's about the enduring dialogue between past and present, faith and reason. The debates over archaeological findings are a testament to the vibrancy and complexity of this narrative, encouraging us to look deeper, think critically, and appreciate the myriad ways history and belief intersect. When surveying the chronicles of history, one often encounters tales that defy the common expectations of human achievement, tales that border on the miraculous. Such is the narrative of Nehemiah, whose story stands as a testament to what can be accomplished through divine intervention and unyielding faith. Imagine, if you will, the ancient city of Jerusalem in a state of disarray, its walls having been reduced to rubble by invading forces. From this desolation emerged a man with a clear vision and unwavering determination, Nehemiah. Nehemiah's quest to rebuild Jerusalem's walls was not merely a physical endeavor. It was a spiritual mission imbued with immense significance. Called by God and driven by a fervent desire to restore dignity and protection to his people, Nehemiah embarks on what many would perceive as an insurmountable task. Consider, for a moment, the sheer magnitude of this undertaking. Amidst constant threats, opposition, and the ever-present skepticism of those around him, Nehemiah resolved to reconstruct the very fortifications that symbolized Jerusalem's strength and resilience. Now, the duration of this monumental task is, in itself, a marvel. Completing the entire wall in a mere 52 days, less than 2 months, is nothing short of extraordinary. Reflect on the logistics involved. The coordination of labor, the gathering of materials, the unceasing watchfulness required to fend off adversaries. Yet, despite these formidable challenges, the wall rose anew, testament to what can be achieved when divine purpose harmonizes with human effort. To appreciate the miraculous nature of this feat, we must delve into the opposition Nehemiah faced. External foes like Sanballat, Tobiah, and Geshem scoffed and plotted, seeking to thwart the restoration efforts through intimidation and deceit. Internally, there were disputes and discouragement among the laborers, whose spirits were often dampened by the enormity of the task and the looming threats. Nehemiah, however, remained unwavering. Through prayer and strategic wisdom, he galvanized the people, uniting them with a common vision and a shared hope. Indeed, the speed and efficiency of the construction defy ordinary explanation. One can only attribute such a swift and resolute accomplishment to the hand of God moving in their midst. Nehemiah himself acknowledged this divine assistance, understanding that the success of their labor was not solely born of human hands but was the fruit of a higher intervention. "The God of heaven will give us success," Nehemiah declared with conviction, and his faith was richly rewarded. The story of Nehemiah and the rebuilding of Jerusalem's walls serves as a powerful reminder of what can transpire when one acts in faith and relies on divine guidance. It transcends the boundaries of a mere historical account, entering the realm of the theological and the spiritual. Here was a leader who, through prayerful reliance, turned a vision into reality, transforming not just a city's landscape but its very soul. The miracle of those 52 days stands as a beacon to all who face seemingly insurmountable obstacles, revealing that with divine support, no challenge is too great, no wall too high. In essence, the completion of the wall in 52 days amidst such fierce opposition is more than a historical event. It is a miracle that underscores the profound truth that faith, combined with steadfast action, can achieve the impossible. As we reflect on Nehemiah's story, may we be inspired to face our own challenges with the same courage and trust in God's providential care, knowing that miracles, though rare, are always within the realm of possibility for those who believe. Impact on faith and practice. Imagine, if you will, the tale of Nehemiah, the steadfast leader who did not merely set stones upon stones but breathed life into a vision of restoration amidst desolation. Now, across time and space, his story resonates deeply within the hearts of modern faith communities, inspiring themes of restoration, perseverance, and prayer. Restoration. Like Nehemiah, many today face metaphorical ruins, whether it be broken relationships, shattered dreams, or communities in disarray. His unwavering commitment to rebuild Jerusalem's walls becomes a beacon of hope. Consider the testimony of Maria, a well-regarded member of her church. Her neighborhood had long been plagued by neglect and crime. Drawing inspiration from Nehemiah, she rallied her community, leading efforts to cleanse and restore not just buildings, but also the spirits of her neighbors. Nehemiah showed me that true restoration begins in the heart, igniting a flame that can kindle an entire community, Maria says, standing proudly amidst refurbished homes and blooming gardens. Perseverance. The road to renewal is fraught with obstacles, much like the ones Nehemiah faced. Opposition from adversaries, internal strife, and daunting labor. Modern believers find in him a figure who exemplifies steadfastness in the face of adversity. Take, for instance, the story of David, a recovering addict who, after years of struggling, found solace in Nehemiah's resilience. Every setback was like the taunts of Sanballat and Tobiah, but through prayer and persistence, I overcame them, David shares, now a leader in his support group, helping others to rebuild their lives. Prayer. Central to Nehemiah's journey was his deep reliance on prayer. Each step he took was steeped in seeking divine guidance. Today, this aspect of his character emboldens individuals to seek God in all endeavors. Jenny, a college student navigating the pressures of academia and personal challenges, finds solace in Nehemiah's prayers. Whenever I'm overwhelmed, I open the book of Nehemiah, she says. It's like a conversation with a friend who understands, reminding me to seek strength from a higher power. These stories are but a fraction of the countless lives marked by Nehemiah's influence. Churches, too, adopt his strategies for renewal. Initiatives inspired by Nehemiah's leadership principles have emerged, focusing on community service and holistic restoration. For instance, in a small-town church in Kansas, the Nehemiah Project was born. Volunteers gathered not only to repair physical structures but to engage in spiritual and emotional healing. Every brick laid and every prayer offered became an act of faith, mirroring the ancient narrative. Indeed, Nehemiah's story goes beyond the physical reconstruction of walls. It builds up lives, strengthens resolve, and deepens faith. As the sound of hammers and the voice of prayer once echoed through ancient Jerusalem, so too does his legacy reverberate through the hearts of believers today, calling them to rise and rebuild with the same fervor and faith. Let us, therefore, be ever mindful of the lessons Nehemiah imparts. In times of despair, may we remember that each stone laid in faith, each prayer uttered in earnest, shapes not just our lives but the tapestry of the communities around us. To embark upon this exploration of cultural representations of Nehemiah's story, we must envision a tapestry woven across centuries, rich with symbol, sentiment, and spirit. The tale of Nehemiah has resonated through diverse forms of human expression, each medium offering its unique lens to view this ancient narrative, much like a jewel turning in the light to reveal different facets. To begin with the world of medieval art, we are greeted by grand, intricate illustrations that adorned the pages of illuminated manuscripts. In these heavily adorned texts, we often find Nehemiah depicted in scenes of profound piety and determination. Intricate gold leafing and vibrant colors elevate his visage, symbolizing his divine commission and unwavering faith. These artworks were not mere depictions but theological affirmations designed to inspire the faithful in monastic silence or congregational teaching. They resonated with a message as though whispering from the parchment, "See, here is a man touched by God's purpose." Moving forward into the age of the Renaissance, Nehemiah's narrative found new life on the canvases of painters influenced by the rediscovery of classical humanism. This era, characterized by a glorious synthesis of spiritual and worldly themes, often encapsulated the triumphant blend of divine and human endeavor. Artists such as Michelangelo and Raphael, though not known for specific depictions of Nehemiah, certainly influenced the broader approach to biblical representation. In their wake, Nehemiah's story might be seen in grand murals or portraits where the emphasis shifted subtly to highlight his human struggles and divine calling in a world suffused with God's immediacy and grandeur. Transitioning into literature, Nehemiah has threaded his way through the fabric of storytelling from medieval morality plays to modern novels. He stood tall not merely as a character, but almost as a paragon, a beacon of integrity and divine obedience amidst self-interest and adversity. Within John Bunyan's Pilgrim's Progress, though Nehemiah is not directly mentioned, we can sense a kindred spirit in the steadfast pilgrim, whose journey is beset by trials and divine guidance. The echoes of Nehemiah's perseverance and faithfulness in leadership resonate within every struggle, every prayer uttered in the anguished night. The advent of the modern era brought Nehemiah into the realm of film and contemporary books, each striving to render his ancient story accessible to the hearts and minds of new generations. Films such as the animated adaptations by studios wishing to convey biblical stories to the young, and dramatized retellings intended for broader audiences, often highlight Nehemiah's visionary leadership and the relentless opposition he faced. These modern portrayals, with their dynamic visuals and emotive storytelling, weave his tale with fresh relevance, affirming his narrative as one of eternal truths and communal aspiration. Additionally, contemporary authors have taken to imaginative retellings and deep dives into Nehemiah's life, exploring not just the historical figure but the very essence of his mission. Works of historical fiction and religious thrillers alike have embraced him as a central figure, navigating the complexities of exile and return with narrative richness that speaks to both spiritual and secular audiences. Through the words of these modern bards, Nehemiah stands not just as a figure of old but as a timeless archetype of divine fidelity and resolve. The endurance of Nehemiah's story across the artistic and literary spectrums underscores a universal truth. His narrative, rooted in a specific historical and religious context, transcends time and medium. It speaks to the ceaseless human condition, a calling towards something greater than oneself, the struggles therein, and the overarching hand of providence guiding the faithful through the adversities and triumphs of their appointed tasks. In examining these cultural representations, we witness the transformation of Nehemiah's story from mere historical record to a living testament. Each retelling, from illuminated manuscripts to silver screen adaptations, breathes new life into his journey, continually inviting us to reflect upon our paths, our purposes, and our divine callings, much like Nehemiah did centuries ago. As we draw the threads of our tale together, let us first revisit the tableau of Nehemiah's life. Picture a man, once a humble cupbearer in a faraway land, called upon by divine whisper to undertake a mission that would reshape the heart of his people. Nehemiah's leadership was not merely a matter of pragmatic prowess but a testament to his steadfast faith, rooted irrevocably in prayer and divine guidance. Each stone he laid upon Jerusalem's battered walls was a symbol of hope renewed, of a covenant restored. Nehemiah's story is enshrined as a beacon of resilience. It teaches us that to lead is to serve, to plan is to pray, and to engage with hardship is to embrace faith. He navigated treacherous waters, not with the strength of his arm, but with the fervor of his prayers. His keen strategic mind was only matched by his profound commitment to God's will. Reflect, dear listener, upon the profound lessons his life imparts. In Nehemiah, we see divine purpose playing out amidst the ruins, calling us to believe that no situation is beyond redemption. His perseverance showcases how mortal will, bolstered by faith, can birth divine acts. His communal actions remind us that our endeavors reach their zenith when rooted in collective purpose and collaboration. Now, I encourage you to dive deeper into this narrative, to explore how leadership and faith intertwine in your own lives. Please subscribe, like, and share your reflections. Engage with this community by commenting below and suggesting topics that intrigue or inspire you. Your insights and perspectives are a cherished part of this collective journey. Lastly, your feedback is invaluable. Share your thoughts and suggestions for future content. Let's foster a community bound by dialogue and shared growth, much like Nehemiah's vision for Jerusalem. Thank you for being part of this story, and may the lessons of Nehemiah guide you always. Conclude with a relevant prayer. Lord of creation, who called Nehemiah to rebuild what was broken, I come before you seeking that same strength and purpose. When I face ruins in my life, give me the vision to see beyond the rubble and the faith to trust in your plan. Inspire my heart with the determination that Nehemiah had, to push through adversity with unwavering belief in your guidance. Surround me with a community that supports and uplifts, and may your wisdom always be the cornerstone of my actions. In times of doubt, remind me of Nehemiah's prayerful reliance on you. Bless my efforts, and may they bring glory to your name. Amen.